If everything around you suddenly feels off, if the world feels heavy in a way you can't explain, then this is your wake-up call you cannot ignore. Everything else is becoming poison in the days ahead, and only 1% are truly awake enough to survive what's coming. Leo, you've always been the heart of the zodiac, ruled by the sun, the bringer of light, courage, and truth. But what happens when the light starts dimming, not because you've lost your flame, but because the world around you is being covered in illusions? This isn't just a shift in energy. It's a purification. The universe is cleansing timelines, removing distractions, toxins, and anything that no longer serves the chosen ones. That's why you're feeling it so intensely. You're not crazy. You're connected. The days ahead will not be easy for the masses. They will cling to what's comfortable, even if it poisons their spirit. They'll chase trends, noise, and fake promises, all while their inner light quietly fades. But you, Leo, are not here to follow the crowd. You're here to rise above it. You're here to lead, to shine, to survive, and not just that, to thrive in a world where only the spiritually equipped will make it through. The truth is, most people aren't ready to handle what's coming. They'll be overwhelmed by emotional chaos, information overload, and energetic contamination. But for the 1% who are aligned, grounded, and listening closely, there is a divine reward waiting. A sacred clarity. A new path. A higher dimension of life that can only be accessed by those who are willing to walk away from the poison. Leo, this message didn't find you by accident. You were drawn to this exact moment because something in your soul has been crying out for truth. And now that the truth is here, you can't unhear it. So pause. Breathe. Take this seriously. The things you consume, the people you keep close, the content you absorb, the food you eat, the thoughts you believe, all of it is shaping your timeline. If it's not nourishing your soul, it's poisoning it. Let this be the moment you decide, no more spiritual junk. No more energetic toxins. No more settling for what drains you. You were not created to survive, you were chosen to radiate. In the next few days, protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Shield your heart, clean your space, say no to drama, and say yes to silence. Yes to realignment. Yes to your divine path. If you've made it this far, it means you are already part of the 1%. The ones who sense the storm before it arrives. The ones who can feel the vibration of truth in their bones. So I want you to confirm your activation by typing in the comments, I am the 1%. I release the poison. I choose truth. This is more than a video. It's an initiation. A frequency upgrade. A divine reminder that even when the world loses its way, you can still hold the light. Welcome to your awakening, Leo. Let the rest fall away. It was never meant to follow you anyway. If you've ever walked into a room and felt the heaviness in the air before a single word was spoken, if your heart has been inexplicably tired even after a full night's sleep, or if you've scrolled endlessly through your phone and felt emptier than when you started, then you're already sensing it. The shift. The saturation. The subtle but powerful poisoning of our collective space. This isn't just a psychological slump or seasonal fatigue. What we're experiencing is an energetic reality that the world is slowly being clouded by layers of toxicity, not necessarily physical, but emotional, spiritual, and deeply psychological. And Leo, if you're here, it's because your soul has already begun to notice what others are still trying to name. You weren't born to belong to this chaos. In fact, your very essence resists it. As the zodiac's radiant heart, you carry the light of awareness, the instinct to see past what is projected and feel what is real. But lately, that light may feel like it's flickering. That's not your failure. That's your gift being challenged. There are 4 types of toxicity spreading across the collective right now, and they rarely announce themselves directly. The first is emotional toxicity, anxiety without source, numbness in relationships, the hollowing out of joy. This kind of heaviness doesn't come from one moment but from hundreds of micro-betrayals to our own peace. The second is social toxicity, the demand to be on, available, perfect, productive, all while secretly breaking down inside. We're told to brand ourselves, to outperform, to always keep smiling. But underneath the surface, this pressure steals the very oxygen from our spirits. Then there's energetic or metaphysical toxicity, subtle frequencies, invisible burdens, the kind that accumulate through overstimulation, exposure to manipulation, and alignment with people or spaces that feel off for no apparent reason. And lastly, spiritual confusion, what I often call soul dissonance. This is when you start to feel like nothing fits anymore. The things that used to excite you now drain you. The spaces you once loved now feel foreign. The people you once aligned with suddenly don't speak your language. That's not you being lost, that's your inner compass rejecting an old map that no longer leads anywhere. In tarot, this kind of collective fog is captured perfectly by the Moon and 7 of Cups. These cards warn of illusions dressed as truths, of overchoice leading to paralysis, and of inner clarity being clouded by external noise. When these cards appear together as they have energetically for many of us, it's a clear sign that we must stop, center, and ask, what is real, and what is residue? If you're still watching this, you're already ahead of most. Because the truth is, only a small fraction, perhaps 1%, will ever slow down enough to feel what's actually happening. Most will keep sprinting through life, swallowing more noise, consuming more chaos, chasing more of what never satisfies. But you, dear Leo, were made for something different. Your ability to feel off is not weakness, it's intelligence. It's energetic sensitivity. It's your intuition waking up and whispering, this is not your frequency anymore. And so I invite you to honor that voice. To trust that discomfort is often the soul's way of pulling you toward alignment. If you felt disconnected, anxious, or like you no longer fit into the places that once felt familiar, you're not broken. You're being retuned. Let's start by acknowledging that awareness. Go ahead and comment below, I feel the shift. I no longer belong to what used to define me. Let your words become the first ripple in your energetic realignment. This isn't about fear, it's about truth. And truth, once embraced, becomes the most powerful detox of all. Faith, real faith, is never about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to walk through it with your heart still open, your spine still straight, and your inner flame still burning. For you, Leo, the flame of faith isn't something external or conditional, it's the fire you've always carried, quietly glowing beneath your chest, even when the winds of the world try to blow it out. And if the first wave of awareness, recognizing that something in the world is off, was your soul awakening, then this second step, this deeper understanding of faith, is the part where you choose to walk forward even when the path is hidden in shadows. Many people think faith is a feeling, a kind of warm certainty, a spiritual calm. But in truth, faith often comes without feelings at all. It comes in silence, in fatigue, in the moments when nothing makes sense and nothing feels good, but you still decide to believe that something better is ahead. That's real faith. And Leo, you are made for that kind of bold trust, not blind, but luminous. Not passive, but powerful. Astrologically, there is something deeply profound happening when the Sun, your ruling planet, aligns with Uranus. Uranus represents the Great Awakener, the cosmic force that shocks us out of stagnation, out of what's comfortable but false. When this alignment takes place, it's as if the universe is asking you directly, do you trust me enough to leap before you see the landing? You see, faith isn't a luxury during times of transition. It's the bridge. The only one strong enough to carry your soul to where it's meant to go next. There's an old story I often share, not religious, but deeply human. A woman once stood in front of a sealed door, waiting for it to open, even when everyone told her there was nothing behind it. Day after day, she returned, trusting what her spirit told her, not what the world insisted on. One day, the door opened. Not because she forced it, but because she stayed, because she believed. And it turned out, behind that door was not just a new beginning, but a version of herself she had never met before. That's the essence of the star in tarot. A woman under the vast sky, pouring water back into the earth and into the stream. She trusts the universe so much that she gives without fear of lack. She shines in her nakedness, vulnerable yet powerful, guided not by guarantees, but by cosmic knowing. She is you, Leo, in this exact moment. So how do we live faith when everything is uncertain? Not by waiting for signs, but by becoming one. Speak your truth out loud, even if your voice shakes. Write down one thing you still believe in, not because it's easy to believe, but because it's right. Whisper to yourself in the morning, I am the light in the dark. I am held, even when I don't see the hands. You don't need the world to agree with you. You just need to agree with the whisper inside you that says, keep going. And if today you feel small, or tired, or unsure, look down at your feet. You're still standing. That means your faith is already working. Even now. If that resonates, I want you to affirm it in the comments. My fire still burns. My faith is alive. This small act, this sentence can be your spark. Because when the world tries to silence your light, your faith is what keeps it burning. And no darkness can ever drown a flame that was born from the stars. Discernment is a quiet superpower in a noisy world. After awakening to the toxicity around you and reconnecting with your inner flame of faith, the next step is not about charging ahead blindly, it's about choosing wisely. Because as the energy shifts and illusions multiply, not everything that glows is meant to guide you. Not everyone who speaks loud carries truth. Not every opportunity that knocks deserves to be let in. And in this part of your journey, Leo, your survival and your rising depends not just on your heart or your passion, but on your ability to discern. True discernment doesn't come from fear or paranoia. It comes from presence. It is the soft, intuitive knowing that rests beneath the noise, beneath the emotional surges, beneath the surface sparkle. While faith gives you the courage to move forward, discernment ensures you are moving in the right direction. Think of faith as the flame, and discernment as the lantern that shapes its light. And in times like these, when distraction is often disguised as destiny, you need both. Emotional discernment is where it begins. We've been conditioned to believe that if something feels good, it must be right. But not every excitement is alignment. Sometimes the body says yes out of habit, trauma, or unresolved need. That's why we pause. We breathe. We ask not just, does this feel good, but, is this feeling coming from a true place? Because peace, deep, stable peace often whispers while chaos shouts. Then comes relational discernment. One of the hardest things to accept is that not everyone on our path is meant to stay. Some people are teachers, some are mirrors, some are simply passing clouds. Just because someone is familiar, supportive, or even spiritual, doesn't mean they're aligned with your future. And just because a connection started in truth doesn't mean it hasn't outlived its timeline. Discernment allows us to see people clearly, not with judgment, but with grace. It helps us release what no longer serves without resentment. Lastly, there's opportunity discernment, perhaps the trickiest in a world obsessed with hustle and success. We're told to chase every shiny thing. But you, Leo, don't need to run after noise. You attract. You magnetize. That's the nature of your solar energy. So ask yourself, is this opportunity life-giving, or is it just another distraction dressed in gold? Does it nourish your long-term vision, or does it only feed your ego for a moment? When in doubt, trust the stillness. That's where real clarity always lives. In the tarot, the Justice card paired with the High Priestess creates a powerful duo. Justice is truth, logic, fairness. The High Priestess is intuition, inner knowing, sacred pause. Together, they teach us that right choices aren't made by logic alone or feeling alone, but by the dance between the two. This is where real wisdom lives, not in certainty, but in alignment. To practice this, try writing down 3 things you once believed were right for you: relationships, decisions, dreams that turned out to be detours. Don't judge them. Just notice the pattern. Then tune into your body. When you think of a current choice or person, where do you feel expansion? Where do you feel contraction? The body never lies if you learn its language. And if you're drawn to colors or symbols, let royal purple be your ally in this phase. It's a color of protection, insight, and divine boundaries. The number 2, the sacred mirror, reminds you to balance your inner knowing with your outer action. You're not here to know everything, Leo. You're here to know what's yours. That's enough. If this resonates, let it be known. Comment below, I choose clarity over chaos. I honor what is truly mine. Let these words become your boundary and your blessing. Because in a world full of noise, your discernment is your freedom. Words hold power. Not metaphorically but energetically, physically, vibrationally. Every sentence you speak, every thought you declare inwardly, is a thread that weaves into the fabric of your life. After all you've been through so far, awakening to a toxic world, choosing to walk by faith, and learning to discern truth from illusion, the next phase of your journey, Leo, is about speaking life into your path. Because the words you speak are not just descriptions, they're creations. And now more than ever, the clarity and purity of your words will determine the atmosphere you live in. Think of your voice as a tuning fork. The frequency you speak from determines what reality vibrates back to you. This isn't abstract, it's grounded in energy mechanics. From a cosmic perspective, Mercury, the planet of communication moving through a fire sign, ignites a boldness, a divine spark that activates the creative potential of our thoughts. For Leo, this is especially powerful. You're ruled by the sun, and when Mercury dances in your element, your words don't just express, they initiate. They manifest. In tarot, this is the realm of the Ace of Swords, the sword of clarity, truth, and divine speech. And it stands beside the Hierophant, the spiritual teacher who understands sacred order and the architecture of meaning. Together, they ask you, are you speaking from your patterns? Or from your purpose? Are you repeating what's been fed to you? Or are you declaring what you truly desire? Most of us underestimate how much damage vague, fear-based, or self-defeating language can cause over time. Words like, I can't, I don't know, I'm not ready, may seem harmless, but they subtly shape your energetic posture. They close doors before they're even knocked on. On the other hand, when you say, I trust, I'm being guided, clarity is coming, you realign your entire nervous system to a new possibility. You become a participant in your own miracle. This is where practice meets power. Try this. Each morning, choose one affirmation that feels true, even if it's just a whisper. Something like, I speak truth, and light responds. Write it down. Say it aloud. Let your voice hear itself choosing light. This isn't about denying reality, it's about choosing the lens you look through. Words don't erase struggle, but they hold the key to how you walk through it. Whether with fear or with grounded grace. David didn't defeat Goliath because he was the strongest. He won because he didn't speak from fear. He declared who he was, whose energy he carried, and what was about to happen. He didn't wait for evidence, he created it through declaration. And that is the level of alignment you are being called into now. White pearl, your energetic color in this phase, symbolizes purity, truth, and divine clarity. It represents protection, not by hiding, but by standing in your full frequency. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You just need to speak from the soul. Let this be your daily reminder, your voice is a vessel. Your words are commands. Your truth is sacred. If this resonates, comment below and claim it. I speak with clarity. I choose truth. My words are light. And let that sentence become your sword, not to fight others, but to cut through every illusion still clinging to your life. Because the more clearly you speak, the more cleanly your path will open. Some poisons don't burn when you touch them. They don't leave bruises or make a sound. Instead, they seep in silently, drop by drop, through what you scroll, what you compare yourself to, what you chase out of fear rather than alignment. And if you've made it this far in the journey, awakening to the energetic toxicity of the world, anchoring yourself in faith, choosing discernment, and speaking truth, then this part of your evolution is about clearing out the quiet poisons that have been dulling your light from the inside out. Modern poison doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it's beautifully curated. It wears filters. It hashtags success. It pretends to be inspiration, when in fact, it's subtle self-erasure. Let's start with comparison, the most socially accepted poison of our time. On platforms like Instagram or TikTok, we are constantly served snapshots of someone else's highlight reel. Someone else's body, pace, wealth, perfect routine. And your nervous system, no matter how spiritual you are, starts whispering, you're behind. You're not enough. You should be more. But comparison is not motivation. It's self-abandonment disguised as aspiration. Then comes the glorification of hustle, the constant need to move, build, chase, achieve, grind. It's seductive, especially for Leos, whose passion and drive are powerful forces. But there's a difference between movement from purpose and motion from panic. When we keep running to avoid stillness, we feed an illusion that busy is equal to valuable. But value, Leo, is something you carry inherently, not something you earn by proving, performing, or pleasing. And perhaps the most dangerous form of poison, the false definition of success. We've been conditioned to believe that success means accumulation, more money, more followers, more titles. But if you're losing your peace, your sleep, your creativity, your joy, is that truly success, or is it just survival in a shiny disguise? The soul doesn't care how impressive your life looks. It only cares about how aligned it feels. This is where the law of attraction becomes misunderstood. You cannot manifest clarity, freedom, or joy if your energetic field is cluttered with resentment, comparison, fear, and overstimulation. You can say all the affirmations in the world, but if you're constantly absorbing noise, your signal is blurred. What you attract comes from what you embody, and you can't embody light if you're filled with invisible toxins. In tarot, the Seven of Swords and the Devil tell this exact story. The Seven of Swords represents self-deception, sneaky thoughts, borrowed truths. The devil tempts you with instant pleasure, easy success, and false comfort. Together, they reflect how easy it is to get trapped in systems that seem empowering but actually keep you energetically enslaved. Breaking free doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet refusal. I'm not going to betray myself today. So what can you do to gently begin your detox? Start with silence. Turn off your notifications for 3 days. Not because social media is evil, but because you deserve to hear your own voice again. Drink warm lemon water in the morning, not just for your body, but as an energetic ritual of purification. Meditate for just 7 minutes, not to achieve enlightenment, but to ask a single powerful question: does this belong to me? You'd be surprised how many things you're carrying that never did. Let your detox be sacred. Let it be slow. Let it be rooted in love, not shame. You're not clearing because you're broken. You're clearing because you're worthy of clarity. If this spoke to something deep within you, comment below and claim it. I release what is not mine. I choose peace over performance. And with that, you've already begun. Because awareness is the first antidote. And presence is the most powerful purifier of all. You were never meant to simply survive this life. The pulse that beats inside of you, the one that calls you to rise even when you're exhausted, to speak even when your voice shakes, to keep loving even when you've been betrayed, that pulse is not the rhythm of a survivor. It's the rhythm of a soul who came here to lead. And if the journey up to this point has felt heavy, confusing, or even unbearable, it's not because you're doing it wrong, it's because you're being prepared to step into the truth of who you really are. You're not a bystander in this moment of history. You're not a background character in someone else's story. You, Leo, were born with divine fire in your bones, not just to light your path, but to become a living torch for others still walking through darkness. And that fire cannot be put out by disappointment, or rejection, or even the trauma you thought would break you. If you're still here, still breathing, still listening, it means your role is not done. In fact, it may just be beginning. Throughout time, some of the most powerful awakenings have come from those who were first brought low. Esther didn't grow up royal, she was an orphaned girl in exile, but when her people needed a voice, she stepped forward and changed the fate of a nation. Joseph was cast out by his own brothers, imprisoned, forgotten, yet he became the very bridge that saved the ones who abandoned him. Moses stuttered, doubted, ran from his calling, but he returned to liberate an entire people. None of them were chosen because they were perfect. They were chosen because they were willing. Because they had walked through enough fire to carry light with integrity. And now, that same invitation is being extended to you. Astrologically, this is the moment where the Strength card meets the Chariot. Strength doesn't roar, it listens. It's the power to be still without giving up. The Chariot doesn't wait for permission, it moves with purpose, even through unfamiliar terrain. Together, these archetypes describe your current evolution. You're not just healing, you're becoming. And what you're becoming has less to do with what you achieve, and more to do with what you're willing to own, your voice, your worth, your role in this sacred unfolding. This isn't about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to stay awake, to not numb yourself when things get overwhelming, to not shrink when the world gets loud, to not silence your truth just to stay comfortable. The world doesn't need another perfect influencer. It needs you as you are, with your realness, your resilience, your light that flickers but never goes out. You don't need to wait to be ready. You are already carrying everything you need. The only thing left is the decision to step into your part, not as a victim of this age, but as a catalyst for healing within it. You don't have to save everyone. But you do have to stop abandoning yourself. So pause right now and breathe into this truth. I am not a victim of this era. I am one of the ones chosen to heal it. Say it. Write it. Let it ripple out into your cells. Because claiming it is the beginning of becoming it. And if these words stirred something deep in you, let that energy rise. Type below in the comments, I am the light. I choose to lead from within. Not because it's easy, but because it's time. And because you've always known, deep down, that this is who you were born to be. If you've made it this far, let me tell you something from the deepest part of my being: you are not here by chance. The world may be spinning in confusion, drowning in noise, tangled in distractions that numb the soul. But you, Leo, are not here to be part of the spiral. You are here to rise above it. You've always known you were different. Not because you were louder, flashier, or more together, but because something inside of you refuses to dim, even when the world goes dark. And that part of you, that ancient, stubborn, luminous part, is the reason you're still standing. Everything else may be poison in the days ahead: comparison, false success, spiritual shortcuts, emotional clutter, but you've now seen the antidotes. Faith, discernment, divine truth spoken through your own voice. These are not luxuries. They are lifelines. And the moment you choose to walk with them, not perfectly but consistently, everything begins to shift. Maybe not outside, at first, but within. And that's where all true transformation begins. So now I gently pass the torch to you. What will you do with this fire you've rekindled? Will you let it light one small corner of your day? Will you let it guide one choice, one breath, one bold moment of truth? Or will you tuck it away, waiting for the perfect time, a time that may never come unless you choose to create it? Ask yourself, what if today is the day I stop playing small? What if I don't need to have it all figured out, I just need to stay aligned? What if the light I'm waiting for is the light I was born to be? Let these questions sit with you, not as pressure, but as invitation. Because change doesn't start with a revolution. It starts with a remembering. And right now, you're remembering who you are. A soul designed for clarity. A heart trained for love. A mind being tuned to wisdom. A light the world desperately needs. So, beautiful Leo, if your spirit is ready to reclaim its role, to speak truth even when it trembles, to stand tall even when surrounded by shadows, I want you to anchor that shift by commenting below. 777 I choose truth. I choose light. I choose to lead from within. And if this message touched you in any way, please like this video, subscribe to our sacred space here at Eternal Mindfulness, and share this with someone who might need a reminder of their own light. Every interaction, every comment, every share is not just support, it's a ripple of healing sent out into a world desperate for direction. You were never meant to just survive this life. You were meant to set it on fire with integrity, wisdom, and truth. And you already are.